You think she's chasing money, but that's just the bait she lets you believe. What she actually craves are things far more dangerous to a man who doesn't see them coming. And if you can't give them, she'll take them from someone else without warning. This video will expose the 5 things women secretly value above money and how they quietly test men to see if they possess them. Ancient Stoicism teaches that desire is a form of slavery, but most men are slaves to female approval, bleeding away their emotional control and their masculine frame without realizing it. In the hidden world of female psychology and relationship power dynamics, these 5 desires dictate loyalty, attraction, and even betrayal. Once you understand them, you can practice stoic detachment, stop reacting, and make her respect you without begging for it. The question is, will you master them or will you be mastered? Point number 1. The thrill of a man she cannot fully read. Have you ever wondered why a hug from her can feel like both comfort and interrogation? Why can the warmth in her arms be mixed with a subtle scan for cracks in your armor? Most men don't see it. They lean in too much. They read the hug as safety. But in female psychology, even affection can carry a silent test. Is he still the man I can't fully control? Or has he softened, slipped, and become dependent on this moment? That's the trap. You feel her breath on your neck, her hands around you, and think you've won. But sometimes she's not embracing you. She's measuring you. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." In this, the hug is an outside event. Your reaction to it, that's the battlefield. If you cling too long, you fail. If you stiffen from fear, you fail. The win is in being there without leaning on it for work. The Stoics knew how to walk among both friends and enemies, without letting either disturb their center. Cato could sit in the Senate surrounded by men plotting against him, and his heartbeat wouldn't change. He didn't need to prove loyalty or love in return for survival. That same discipline is your shield in modern relationships. A woman might give you affection, but she is also reading the weight of your dependence on it. She wants to feel that your value as a man isn't drawn from her approval, that you can receive the moment without needing the moment. This is where masculine control lives, in that split second where you could sink into her arms and silently beg her never to let go. You instead stand in emotional discipline. You return the hug with presence, but your frame remains untouched. This isn't coldness. This is stoic detachment. It's knowing that the hug, the kiss, the sweet words are all part of relationship, power dynamics, and that you can enjoy them without being owned by them. Many men fear female rejection so deeply that they subconsciously perform for affection. They overvalidate, overpraise, and overhug to keep her interested. But a woman respects the man who doesn't treat her as oxygen. She respects the man who meets affection with the same calm energy he brings to her silence. That's the silent test hidden in every hug, and most men fail it before they even know it exists. So here's your practice. Next time she wraps her arms around you, hold her without holding on. Feel her warmth without making it your anchor. Let her go as easily as you received her. Because if your peace depends on her embrace, you're already hers in the wrong way. Can you be fully present without being emotionally owned? And if you can't, you'll need the next truth. Why respect always comes before love, and why most men reverse it without realizing. Point number 2. Respect for unshakable emotional discipline. Have you noticed how quickly a woman's eyes change when you lose control? One sharp tone, one defensive reaction, one crack in the calm, and then she sees you differently. Respect is not built in moments of comfort. It's forged when pressure arrives, when she pushes against your frame to see if it bends. In female psychology, every emotional spike you give her tells her where your limits are. If she can pull you into her chaos, she knows she can own your peace. That's when respect dies quietly without you noticing. Seneca said, "No man is free who is a slave to his body." In our time, the body includes the surge of anger, the rush of panic, the heat of humiliation. If she can provoke those at will, you're not free, you're bound. Emotional discipline is not about never feeling. It's about never letting her or anyone else decide when you feel. The Stoics lived in the public arena, surrounded by politics, betrayal, and insult. Yet men like Epictetus could face mockery without flinching, not because they lacked emotion, but because they trained themselves to place the reason above impulse. In relationships, this translates to a form of masculine control few men practice. When she withdraws affection, tests your patience, or brings up the past, she's not just venting. She's watching your center. Will you become reactive, proving her power over you? Or will you stand still, answer slowly, and make her feel the weight of your unshakable calm? This is the heart of Stoic detachment, not distance for its own sake, but the refusal to be ruled by what you can't control. In modern relationship power dynamics, this is magnetic. It tells her that your value as a man doesn't rise and fall with her mood. You are a constant, not a weather vane, and while she might claim she wants emotional openness, what she respects is emotional command. Most men confuse love with constant emotional access. They think that giving her everything immediately and unfiltered proves intimacy. In reality, it often erodes respect. She doesn't want a man who hides his heart, but she also doesn't want one who lets his heart be played like a piano at the touch of her fingers. So here's your practice. When she pushes, breathe once before answering. When she accuses, ask for clarity instead of defending. When she sulks, hold space without filling it with nervous chatter. Let her see that your state is not for sale, because the man who cannot be rattled cannot be replaced. Are you willing to be that man, even when it costs you her comfort? Which brings us to the next layer she feels but never names. The power of silent, unbending boundaries and why they create desire without a single word. Point number 3. The power of silent, unbending boundaries. Have you ever felt that creeping sense that she's pushing just to see how far you'll bend? It starts small. A joke at your expense. A subtle dig in front of friends. A request that's not really a request. Most men let it slide, thinking it's harmless. But in female psychology, every unchecked push becomes a map of where your edges dissolve. The moment she knows your lines are flexible, she knows she can redraw them. And the man who can be redrawn loses the frame entirely. Epictetus said, "How long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself?" That's not a call for arrogance. It's a reminder that your boundaries are not for her approval. They're for your own self-respect. If you only enforce them when she agrees, they're not boundaries, they're negotiations, and you've already lost. The Stoics held to their principles under threat of exile, disgrace, or death. Cato refused to live under Caesar's rule, even when compromise could have saved him. He didn't shout. He didn't beg. He simply would not move. That's the power of silent, unbending boundaries in modern relationships. You don't have to raise your voice. You don't have to explain them endlessly. You hold them and let her feel the immovability. This is where masculine control meets relationship power dynamics. A man with boundaries doesn't need to announce them every day. They're felt. They're seen in the moments. When she tries to pull you off center and you don't shift, she might test you with emotional spikes, with sudden demands, or with behavior that pokes at your limits. If you fold for the sake of peace, she'll remember. If you stand without hostility, she'll respect it, even if she resists in the moment. Most men think keeping the peace is love. In truth, avoiding conflict by surrendering boundaries breeds silent resentment in both of you. She can't trust a man who won't protect his own lines, because if he won't protect himself, how can he protect her? Here's your practice. Speak your boundaries once calmly. When they're crossed, act, without pleading, without debate. If she tries to make you feel guilty, remember that her reaction is her own to manage. Your job is to hold the line, not to justify it, because a boundary explained too much becomes a negotiation. And negotiation is just the slow death of respect. Can you stand still when everything in you wants to bend? Because the next truth cuts even deeper. The spark of purpose that outshines her influence, and why it's the one thing she can never truly take from you. Point number 4. The spark of purpose that outshines her influence. Have you ever felt the slow erosion of your ambition once you've settled into her approval? First, you're building. You have drive, direction, a mission that existed before she arrived. But over time, without noticing, your focus shifts. You start rearranging your days around her moods, her needs, her presence. And then one day you realize the thing that once made you magnetic, the thing she admired, has faded under the weight of her influence. In female psychology, this is a quiet victory for her ego, but a slow death for her attraction. A woman may enjoy your attention, but she only respects the man whose purpose stands above her pull. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions." This is not about chasing status. It's about knowing what your life is for beyond her. The moment your purpose becomes secondary to keeping her happy, you've traded long-term respect for short-term peace. The Stoics lived in service to something higher than personal comfort. Epictetus taught despite being a slave. Marcus ruled an empire while battling illness and betrayal. Their lives were shaped by a constant return to what they were here to do. not what others wanted from them. In modern relationships, this translates to holding a direction so firm that even her love cannot replace it. This is where masculine control deepens. Your value as a man doesn't come from the validation she gives you, but from the mission you would still be living if she vanished tomorrow. Stoic detachment doesn't mean being cold toward her. It means your emotional stability and identity are rooted in a purpose she can't touch. That stability is what allows you to navigate relationship power dynamics without becoming reactive. Most men lose themselves not because she demands it, but because they willingly hand over their focus in exchange for her affection. They think it's proof of commitment, but it's really the slow surrender of the very thing that kept her drawn to them. She doesn't want to be your mission. She wants to be with a man who has one. Here's your practice. Protect blocks of time for your work, your training, your craft, and treat them as non-negotiable. When she pulls at them, resist the urge to explain. Let your actions communicate that your path is not up for reshaping, because when your life orbits her, she will eventually look elsewhere for the gravitational pull you've lost. Can you hold your purpose in the storm of her influence? Because once you can, you're ready for the last truth. The security of a man immune to her tests, and why that calm is the rarest and most dangerous thing she'll ever encounter. Point number 5. The security of a man immune to her tests. Have you ever noticed how some women keep pressing? Not because they want to win, but because they want to feel the edge of your limits? In female psychology, tests are rarely about the question asked or the argument started. They're about the deeper truth. She's trying to uncover, are you a man who can be moved? If she can push you into doubt, anger, or desperation, she knows your security was just a mask. And once she sees the mask slip, she can't unsee it. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Every test is an event outside your control. Your reaction is the measure of your mastery. Most men think passing a test means pleasing her. In reality, it means standing so firmly in yourself that her test never rattles the foundation. The Stoics endured worse than relationship games. They faced exile, torture, and betrayal without giving their enemies the satisfaction of reaction. In our time, that same discipline is your shield. Against the subtle and relentless pressure of modern relationships, she may withdraw affection, accuse you without proof, or provoke you in public. If you react with panic or perform for reassurance, you've handed her the keys to your emotional state. Masculine control isn't about blocking emotion, it's about directing it. When you hold to Stoic detachment, her tests become opportunities to demonstrate emotional discipline. In the silent arena of relationship power dynamics, this is what creates lasting respect. You're not trying to pass in her eyes. You're training yourself to remain whole regardless of the outcome. That self-possession is magnetic because it is rare. Most men crumble under repeated tests because they secretly fear losing her. That fear leaks into every reaction. But when you have built your value as a man outside of her, her tests become weight training for your frame. You meet them without defensiveness, without over-explaining, without chasing approval. You simply remain. Here's your practice. When a test comes, slow down. Breathe once before responding. If it's bait, let it pass without a bite. If it's an accusation, ask for specifics without raising your tone. Show her that her waves can't move your shore, because the man who cannot be shaken by tests is the man she cannot quietly replace. Can you be that man when the storm is deliberate? Because now that you've seen what she values more than money, the next question is whether you'll live it or fall back into the quiet surrender. Most men never notice until it's too late. Every man thinks he understands what women want, until he's standing in the wreckage of a relationship he thought was solid. You've now seen the 5 things she values more than money, and each one is a quiet test of who you are beneath the surface. The thrill of a man she cannot fully read. Respect for unshakable emotional discipline. The power of silent, unbending boundaries. The spark of purpose that outshines her influence. And the security of a man immune to her tests. These aren't tricks or gimmicks. They're not lines to rehearse. They are the deep foundations of your frame, built slowly, proven only under pressure. If you fail them, you'll never see the moment she loses respect. It won't come with an announcement. It will come with distance, withdrawal, and the quiet transfer of her loyalty. But if you leave them, you stop chasing her approval, because you become the man she can't stop respecting. The truth is simple. Women test for the same reason the world tests, to see if what stands in front of them is real. The man who lives by Stoic detachment Emotional discipline and purpose cannot be owned, and that is the kind of man she will choose over and over again, even when she doesn't understand why. If you're ready to build that kind of strength, it starts with training your mind before you train your words. Watch this again. Let it burn into your thinking, then start living it. This is Stoic truth, where we strip away the lies, cut to the bone of male self-mastery, and leave you sharper than the world expects you to be. Subscribe now, and take your place among the men who refuse to be broken. Your next test is coming. Will you pass?